Hi, today I will be sharing tips on how to effectively digest a case. There are different tutorials and ways on digesting a case according to what works for you and also the purpose to why you're digesting a case. If it's for your own personal consumption, you can digest a case as concise as you want it to be. But if you're going to share it with your friends or for recitation purposes, you can attach the full text in the end or after the digest for easy scanning in case the professor asks a detail, and also so that your friends to whom you're going to share it with could understand as if or assuming they have not read the case. So today's sample case that we will be digesting is Aguirre versus Feng, GR number L20851. So for the first step, identify the doctrine or principle under the topic. You can do this by looking at your syllabus. Here we have a copy of our syllabus in property law, and Aguirre versus Feng is placed under the topic of specification, Article 474 of the new Civil Code. Some professors do not give syllabi to the students, so in the absence thereof, you can base on your textbook. Here is a portion of the textbook by Paras on property law. The same case of Aguirre versus Feng is mentioned under the topic of specification. So by doing this, you have a hint or you already have an idea as to what principle is being tackled in the case under the subject of property law. So step 2, check the ruling of the Supreme Court and all lower courts. Going back to the full text of the case, before reading it entirely, I go directly to the ruling of the Supreme Court. Here, in Aguirre versus Feng, the petition is dismissed by the Supreme Court. And the decision of the Court of Appeals was affirmed. So what is the decision of Court of Appeals? You can find that here. It's easily determinable because it's indented, usually. And here you can see that the trial court was also affirmed. So what is the decision of the trial court? It's also found here. So this is important so as to facilitate the understanding of the flow of the case, because in some cases the trial court's decision is reversed by the Court of Appeals, and it's the decision or the reversal of the Court of Appeals that is affirmed by the Supreme Court, or it may also have been modified or reversed by the Supreme Court. There are many scenarios to this, so that we can understand the flow of the case better. We have I usually look at the rulings of the Supreme Court and the lower courts first. Next, distinguish the parties. Going back to the full text, as mentioned earlier, the petition is dismissed by the Supreme Court. So who is the petitioner here? The petitioner in this case is Aguirre, and the respondents are Feng as general manager of Lenora and Company and NASCO. So you already have an idea as to whom the decision was made in favor of, which is the respondents in this case, Feng et al. After that, you go through the relevant facts. Putting all of those in mind, the doctrine, the decision of the Supreme Court, and who the parties are, you can identify which facts are relevant and which are not. So in this case, since the topic is on specification, the date would be irrelevant and some of the names as well. So you can just skim through that and just understand the flow of what happened in this case. So here, Aldabas spouses sold to Aguirre, a tank, and then etc. As you can see, I underlined the items which are relevant or which I can just look at when I review this case, and I can remember what happened here. Again, you have to select only those that are relevant. So after having done that, our next step is to highlight portions of the ratio that are related to the topic. Here, After going through the facts, you can see the issues. You can identify issues. And in some cases, there are several issues. There are several law subjects that are tackled in one singular case. So you have to put in mind the doctrine that is being studied under this case. So since we have a specification, you have to identify which is the main issue that is related to the topic of specification. Here, the main issue is whether or not Aguirre is entitled to the improvements on the tank. And then, based on this issue, we already identified earlier the ruling of the Supreme Court, which is no, he is not entitled thereto, and his petition is dismissed. So what is the reason behind that decision? That is what we're going to highlight here on the final step, the portions of the ratio that are relevant to specification. As you can see, I highlighted this portion because as I understood, this is the main reason of the Supreme Court for deciding in favor of the respondents. So after having done that, we can now plot our digest. Here, I created this digest, putting the topic, the title, the facts, which is already summarized and couched in terms that are understandable to the reader, assuming they have not read the case. So this is already in narrative form, because in some cases, the ponente is too creative in putting or writing the case. So it's difficult to understand, and since we've already summarized it, it's like storytelling. And then here we have the issue and the ruling and the ratio. So here, relevant to the topic, which is specification, as you can see in the textbook, it's mentioned here that the Supreme Court considered the reconditioning of the tank in good faith as a specification. Here you can see why, because there is a showing that without the works made, the tank in its original condition would command the price 14.5, which NASCO was willing to pay, and also the legal basis. And you apply that. I've put this additionally. This was in the footnotes. This isn't necessary, but for recitation purposes, I just added this just in case. And there you have it. Like I said, if the purpose is to use this for recitation or to share with your friends for their recitation as well, you can attach the full text after the digest so that you can just go through the full text and check again the details, like in case the professor asks for the amount of the improvements and etc. And there you have it. I hope this helps, and good luck.